So now we are back at the locus information section of a cleanup locus. Now, as far as the remarks are concerned, I'm not going to go into any details as to what this is for. You just look at your dig manual and it will let you know. But there is a button I wanted to show you, and that's this add photos. This is what's called a legacy button. This is the way we used to do photos. Now we are using a different method. That is, we have a separate database that's here on the iPad, which is where we will put all of our photos. But this will allow you to see photos that may have already been inserted in an earlier season. This only applies to old or already, say, loci that had squares that had already been used and have been excavated for some time. So this is not something that when you're starting out your first square, your first excavating your first locus, you won't have anything in there, and please do not try to put any photos in there. You also have the supervisor, which we started to talk about, but we're going to save this, do this later, and we're going to do this with the next section. And you can see the pottery and the artifacts and so on. We're going to do all of these in our next section. So let's go and start an earth locus where we're going to have a lot more detail. So I'm going to hit the home page and come. Let's start a new locus. So as you notice that as soon as I selected the new cleanup button, it has brought me to a question. What site is this? And the site that we had chosen before was the site of Safra, so we're going to include that. We're going to put in what the season is. In this case, it's 2020. The field, which is field B, and the square. You notice it already popped up and has a number there because we've already pre-selected a number when we registered the square. So we're going to select that 12 right there. And then the date. In this case, we're going to put today's date that I'm recording this, our current date, and then select outside the box. Now we filled in some of the basic information, but you can see that the whole thing is red. And when you see red, generally what it means is that you have not completed some vital piece of information. And we sort of skipped over something, and what we skipped over was the type of locus. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at the types of locus, and you're going to see, this is a cleanup locus. Now, there are cleanup loci and there are bulk trim loci. What's the difference? The difference is the cleanup loci is where, well, you're cleaning things up. And bulk trim is about trimming bulks. But you use the same sheet. You just change what type it is. So in this case, we're going to select cleanup. And now that I have the cleanup there, we're going to now go down and say, down at the bottom it says designation. Designation cleanup, and the designation in this case is, since it's the first one, we're going to start with an A, which is as cleanup loci are numbered or alphabetized from A through Z, and then after that it goes A, B, B, and so on. You shouldn't have that many cleanup. But if you have a square that's open for many, many seasons, maybe even years, then it's quite possible that you would have over 26 different cleanups. In this case, we're only going to start with the first one, which is cleanup A. Now you can see everything, and the red is gone, except for, of course, we haven't put any remarks in, we haven't put any supervisor information in, we haven't put any pottery pail information, or artifacts, or staff, or photos, or top plans. Since none of that has been done, those will remain, the ones that are red are going to remain red until that information has been filled in. You'll also notice on the left side that there are other buttons too. If you select those buttons, they will take you to the different types of loci, or photographs. So we can select photographs, and we can go back to the home page, and so on. So if we go back to, now we have come back to the home page, and your first instinct would go back to the button that you originally pressed. That was the new cleanup. But we aren't going to start a new cleanup because we've already started the new cleanup. We're going to go now to the last cleanup, the one that we're currently working on. So here we go. We've pressed that button, and we're back where we started from. Now there are a few more pieces of information we need to include. We need to include a designation. In this case, our designation is, let's see, topsoil. We're going to call this topsoil and debris. topsoil debris, and we're going to tap outside. And the reason we are doing it, this is because we are opening new square, new square, and I'm going to do comma, removing debris. Okay, tap outside the box, and notice that it once was red, now it's turned brown, so that you know what the reason is. Separability. For this information, if you're not familiar with it, you need to go to the dig manual in order to learn what some of the terms may be. So what is separability? Well, you need to look that up. In this case, since we are the very first locus, we know that separation between the first locus and the one above it, which there isn't one, is very clear. So there is nothing below. We don't know what's below it. We'll have to come back for that. But right now, we're just going to begin with very clear. And now that we can see all of this, I want to show you just a few more buttons. One more button here. You can see that there is a print button in the upper right hand corner. You do not need to press this print button because this is for when your file is taken back and used on a computer and they need to print out a record of the loci that you have been working on. Then they can click that print button if they want to print each one individually. In a previous video, we have showed that you can do this, accomplish the same thing by going to the locus list, and then when the locus list shows up, and currently we don't have any loci that are completed, then we can we can print the loci individually. But at the moment, we haven't assigned a record, so it isn't showing up. Now, our next thing we need is where is this locus within the square? Squares in our system is made up of 6 by 6 square meters. And that is illustrated in the gray box that you see there in the lower right hand corner. The dark gray area, 1 through 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and 36, are the 1 square meters that represent part of the balk. The north balk, 1 through 6, and 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and 36 are the east balk. Usually, we only excavate within the area which is the light gray areas, at least initially. We will come back later and we may take down the balk, and in that case you'll come and create a locus sheet using this same cleanup or balk trim type of locus, and you can remove balk this way, or you can refer to your dig manual as to what the proper method is for how to record the removal of a balk. Talk to your field supervisor and they can help you. But at this time, I can very easily just add the areas which I'm going to clean. Sometimes you're only going to clean up certain spaces, certain areas, such as, let's suppose that we were going to clean up the meter square that's 7, and we're going to do the meter that is 8, just like that. Maybe that's all you do. But after each time you tap one of those squares, you must tap outside the box. Once that is done, then it registers that entire thing. Now, if you make a mistake, you can always hit that X that's right next to it. It's going to ask you, do you want to delete this? In this case, yes, we do. We're going to delete the next one. Yes, we do. You can also press the new button, selecting the new button. What it will do is it'll bring it up and allow you to type in that information. But there's also, as is many times, so we have to first tap out first, and we tap them out, blank them off. Here we go. Now I can select that new button again, and we can tap in. You notice what it did there? It gave me a blank box, and let's say at this point I'm going to add the number 9. Okay, tap outside the box, and now it automatically sorted them. But let's suppose that you're going to excavate the entire square, that is, the area that is the gray area. A new box has been added since your previous season, and that is the 5 by 5 meter square box. This button here, let's again tap outside so it clears everything. There is a 5 by 5 button at the bottom. When I tap the 5 by 5 button, you see all that flashing going on? It's thinking really hard right now, and it's going to add all of the numbers that you see in the gray area. let's just take a look at it. See how we have added all of the numbers. If I scroll down on the left side, look at that. You can see starting with 7, 7 through 11, and then you can see 13 through 17. And let's get a little bit bigger so we can see this better. 13 through 17, we can see 19 all the way up to 23, 25, and so on. Going to bring it a little bit smaller by pinching. If you're not familiar with how an iPad works, you can make things bigger by putting 2 fingers simultaneously onto the iPad, and then you can zoom in and zoom out by pinching up, opening your fingers or closing them while they're touching the screen. So here I made it a little bit bigger so that you can see as I scroll through, look at all of those all nicely done for us. So you have all of them on one side, and then you can also see the other group, which is on the right side as well. This is all the same. So that's a nice little handy little box. We're going to pull this out just a little bit more. Now once you have filled in all this locus information, it's now time to assign a record and then continue. You want to touch this button at the bottom. It says assign record and continue. When you do that, it's going to take you now to the supervisor information page, and we will fill that information page out now, and so that you understand what is it that the supervisor is looking for when you begin your excavation.